Hello, I'm Jenny Anderson, a current Liberty University student. I'm a police officer and I have been so for 10 years. I'm currently employed by a small town in the state of Virginia. I've been given the privilege of studying interpersonal communication and found through this class that the fundamentals of communicating is not as simple as I'd originally assumed. In fact, I've changed the way I speak of communication. Through this class, I've rephrased communication to the art of communicating. What I've also come to understand is that communicating is not simply speaking and ensuring that you're being heard, but listening, and by listening, hearing the information being transmitted and sitting with it before speaking again. Through this class, the literature and the practice, I've learned that effectively communicating has its hurdles, and those can be found in simple transactions one would have with a convenience store clerk while paying for gas. One aspect of this class that stood out to me about interpersonal communication and the effectiveness of it is that those who are engaged in it should be completely present and listening intently for the sake of correctly hearing what the speaker has said. This class led me to a small section of the book titled Bridges Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication. The reading was on mindfulness, and the specific quote that became part of my overarching goal for my life is as follows. A good way to experience mindfulness is to choose a task you typically rush through, like washing dishes. The first is to wash the dishes in order to have clean dishes, and the second is to wash the dishes in order to wash the dishes. This started a change in the way I try and go through each and every moment in my day, but more so focus on the conversations that I have with people. Through this class, I often would say to myself that the more people wish to communicate with me, and then I wish to communicate with. This is simply because of my profession as a police officer. And people wanted to file reports or wanted to speak to me in reference to an ongoing situation they had, and they wanted my professional opinion on it. I would get frustrated because sometimes I didn't want to communicate. I wanted to be quiet, and I wanted to be left alone, for lack of better words. So what I've attempted to do in the past couple of weeks is practice this mindfulness in all conversations with anyone wishing to speak to me. I listen not to quickly obtain as much information as possible in order to take information for a report or to provide information or advice given to people. I listen in order to simply hear and be present in the conversation and what the person is saying. I pay attention to their mannerisms, their eyes, their body gestures, and all those things that I pay attention to is literally helping me listen to what they're saying and how they're saying it. This change has enlarged my conversation because I'm not interrupting nor interjecting my thoughts or feelings on the matter, but being able to repeat back to who's speaking to me their message that they wanted to convey, as well as sometimes their feelings and accurately reporting what their feelings are. The relief that sometimes I find on people's faces when I paraphrase what they've said back or what they said to me, the relief is just indicative of them feeling like they have been heard. And in understanding how imperative that is, and in attempting to understand why this resonated with me, why mindfulness resonated with me, why I wanted to make it my overarching goal and thoroughly accept it. I think it can be found that in looking at who I am and how I got to be this way may provide key insight as well as comprehension on why it's important for me to go back and understand listening is pivotal in relationship. My background consists of a nuclear family. I had a father and mother, both who were married the entire time until my father passed away, and I had two brothers whom I was born in the middle, making me the middle child. And I remember throughout my childhood and teen years my parents engaging in conversations through the early mornings, hours when my siblings were asleep, support each other through difficult situations they encountered while they were at work or with mom obtaining her bachelor's degree. They would work those out and they would talk to each other. My parents argued at times, but would often explain, if we saw them doing so, that it wasn't indicative that they didn't love each other. My parents encouraged us to speak to them and would often engage us in conversation. I always felt as though I had someone to speak to, even if I didn't want to talk. As I grew up, my parents and I maintained a close relationship where we communicated daily. Additionally, my parents ensured that my closest allies in life were my brothers. They encouraged us to be friends and to find activities that we all enjoy doing. And deciphering all that and deciphering who I am now, I was afforded the opportunity through this class to take the DISC personality test. This test consisted of questions about what I preferred, what I disliked. I answered all questions honestly, and upon submitting those answers, I was provided a detailed report detailing my personality. What intrigued me the most was that the test revealed that most people have two different personalities, one that is public and one's private. And I'd assumed, due to my profession as a police officer, that my private and public personality were different and distinct. However, upon review, and can be seen that they were comparable. In my private life, however, I have a dominant, inspiring, and cautious personality, whereas in public, my personality is that of an inspirational doer. Both carry positive attributes, such as I tend to inspire those around me. I have an outgoing personality. I'm confident. However, negative attributes come with these styles of personality as well. Some traits include that of a person that, as a person, I might not be as supportive of others. I might be seen as arrogant, as well as a tendency to struggle with anger. The negative traits in my behavioral blend may prohibit the formation of lasting relationships with those around me or prevent effective communicating from even transpiring. So with the previous mentioned goals of mindfulness, coupled with my background and behavioral blend, another area that should be addressed in relation to my relationship with interpersonal communication are the barriers that exist that I've come to discover about myself through this class and its literature. I've learned that I do not listen effectively nor efficiently. I'm constantly interrupting those that are speaking to me, even with a distinct knowledge of how frustrating that is when I'm in the receiving end of it. I can trace why I could possibly do it back to my behavioral blend of control, which also lends to my other barrier of acting as though a conversation is a courtroom and I must win the argument at all costs. So in addressing my barriers and my weaknesses and communicating effectively, I can attempt to resolve these issues by using my newfound knowledge and literature and begin to develop a plan to enhance my relationship with others, enlarge my conversation with those around me, and work towards my overarching goal of mindfulness. Some resources that I've already put to use and plan to in the future is the Uniquely You report. I found that this has been instrumental. When things begin to go awry, I have reviewed myself critically in an attempt to gain insight on about how I am to work with and engage with. I focus on the areas that require more attention and work on building those. Additionally, the talker listener card can be currently found in the book I'm reading for leisure, as it accompanies me most places. I may place it before me or visualize its message in my head. Also, I've employed those that know me best by utilizing new listening techniques. And although the authors of the assigned literature profess that first the new listening techniques I've learned may seem awkward or forced, my friends understand that I'm attempting to better myself, be a better friend, and respond in ways that I do not think, and they respond in ways that I do not think I've witnessed before. In conclusion, as stated earlier, I consider fortunate and a privilege that I've taken this class. And it is one class that I know has made me a better person, or rather has put me on a path to being a better person. I thank you for the time you have devoted to my review of this class and of myself.